My name is John Smith, 30 years old. I work for a subsidiary of a major corporate group. The working conditions here are dreadful, with many employees breaking down physically and resigning. A strong sense of justice made me approach my boss, Johnson, repeatedly saying the situation needs to be improving. However, this has led to Johnson disliking me and subjecting me to daily harassment. Today, as I was about to leave work and stood up from my desk, Johnson suddenly came over and ordered, "Hey Smith, I need you to rush and prepare the meeting materials for the headquarters before the day is over." I was momentarily bewildered but responded, "I got it," and turned my computer back on. I recalled Johnson seemed to be idling away his time earlier in the day. If he had told me earlier, I could have handled it without working overtime. Why does he always assign work right when I'm about to leave? Even yesterday, as I was about to shut down my computer to leave, he said, "Take care of this," and dumped a load of work on me, resulting in me having to stay late for overtime. All these seem like acts of harassment from Johnson. Eventually, it took long to prepare the materials for the meeting that it was morning by the time I finished. I was at my peak of exhaustion, having worked overtime the day before. After submitting the completed materials on Johnson's desk, I decided to go home briefly to take a shower at least. Before 7 a.m., I found myself in the midst of the morning rush on a packed train, unable to move. If only I had left earlier, I thought, exhausted on the train. Then, I noticed a middle-aged man acting suspiciously a little distance away. On closer inspection, he was smirking and pressing himself against a young woman, probably a college student. The woman, looking frightened, tried to push him away, but she couldn't move due to the crowd. The man, thinking he wouldn't get caught, kept touching her, smirking. The woman was too scared to speak. Although there were many passengers and some noticed, no one seemed to want to get involved. I couldn't just stand by, so I pushed through the crowd, grabbed the man's arm, and confronted him. "What are you doing?" Startled, the man shouted, "It's a misunderstanding. Get off me." I held him down and asked the woman, "Are you okay?" She replied in a scared voice, "Thank you. I'm grateful." At the next station, I got off the train with the man and the woman, but the man suddenly started to struggle and ran away. I chased after him, shouting, "Stop! Don't run!" But he dashed through the ticket gate and disappeared. I couldn't tell where he went due to the crowd. He got away, I said, when a station employee came up and asked what happened. The woman was too shaken to speak, so I explained what I had seen on the train. By then, it took so longer than expected, and it was almost time to go to work instead of returning home. I thought about leaving, but I couldn't just leave the woman alone, so I stayed with her until the end. After a while, her mother arrived, having been contacted by the station staff. Looking at my phone, I saw numerous calls from work. Johnson must be furious. It's all over for me, I thought, feeling hopeless. It was well past the office time, 9 a.m., almost midday. In a rush, I told the station employee, "Sorry, can I leave now?" Just as I was about to go.
"Please, I want to thank you. Can I have your contact information?"
The woman's mother stopped me. I didn't have time to slowly give my personal number, so I hurriedly handed her my business card, saying, "If there's anything, contact me here," and rushed to the platform. I finally arrived at the office just past 11 a.m. Hurrying to my department, I found Johnson, the department head, glaring at me furiously. I apologized with my head down, saying, "I'm terribly sorry for being late." Then he yelled at me, loud enough to echo through the office, "Useless employees like you are fired, and now you're late too." I tried to explain the reason for my tardiness, but he wouldn't believe me. He shouted again, "Do you really think making up such a story will get you off the hook?" Furthermore, he threw the report I had stayed up all night to complete into the trash, calling it useless. When I asked what was wrong with it, he just said, "I don't need to read the report of a liar to know it's no good," without giving any specific reasons. I was stunned and didn't know how to react. He continued yelling, "Redo it from scratch before the meeting starts." His loud voice made other employees look over uncomfortably. How can I redo it if I don't know what to correct? The meeting with the headquarters was scheduled to start at 1 p.m. If I were to redo the report from scratch, I wouldn't make it in time. I rushed to remake the report. I haven't slept or eaten since yesterday. Feeling dizzy yet focused on completing the task, somehow, I managed to finish it by 1 p.m., but the meeting had already started. When I handed the revised report to Johnson, he yelled, "Your fault we're late to the meeting. Take responsibility." No matter what I did, he would irrationally scold me, and I was at my limit. I almost said, "I quit," when the phone rang from the headquarters. Johnson answered, "Yes, sorry, Smith was late and had made an unusable report, so I instructed him to redo it." Seeing that he had reported my tardiness, I thought, I'm going to be fired. Then Johnson, after a pause on the phone, said, "Oh, Smith should come too. I got it." He seemed pleased as he hung up and came to me.
"Smith, you've been called to the headquarters too. Maybe you're finally getting fired."
It seemed like he had been frequently reporting my misdeeds, real and fabricated, to the headquarters, eager to get rid of me. He must have reported many lies about me. I don't want to be in this company anymore. I should hand in my resignation soon. Though I didn't want to face more scolding at the headquarters, I was filled with a desire to escape. I knew I had caused trouble by being late and delaying the report. Even if I was going to quit, I thought it was only right to apologize first. So, I decided to go to the headquarters with Johnson. On the way, he kept insulting me. "How did you even manage to live with such a personality? I'd like to see the faces of the parents who raised you."
"So, it's finally time to part ways. I never thought you'd get fired so soon."
He seemed to enjoy talking about my impending termination. I was furious but endured silently. Until we arrived. When we reached the headquarters, I was physically and mentally exhausted. Just apologize at the headquarters and then quit right away. At the reception, instead of being directed to the meeting room, we were told, "Please go to the executive office."
"Why the executive?"
Johnson seemed puzzled. Not understanding the reason, Johnson and I went to the executive's office. Upon knocking, we heard a common. Opening the door, we saw Hayes, the executive, who greeted us with, "Thank you for your hard work. I've been waiting." Hayes, a close friend of the president since childhood, listened to Johnson trying to appeal desperately with flattery. Then,
The reason we were late, executive, is because of Smith here. Listen to this. Because of Smith's tardiness, we couldn't attend the meeting. And he even had the nerve to make up a story about saving a woman from a harasser.
Hayes listened to Johnson without a smile, his expression stern throughout. I just kept my head down, apologizing. Then Hayes stood up, came over to me, and said warmly, while patting my shoulder, "I'm glad to have a brave man like you in our company." I was dumbfounded, not understanding the meaning, and Johnson looked just as confused. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. The executive invited, "Please come in." A young woman entered, and to my surprise, it was the woman I had helped that morning. As the woman entered the room, she turned towards me and said, "My name is Miranda Hayes. Thank you for helping me this morning," bowing her head in gratitude. Following her, the executive also bowed and said, "Thank you for saving my daughter." It turned out that the woman I had assisted was a new employee at the headquarters. And even more, she was the executive's daughter. I was surprised but replied, "Are you okay? I'm glad you are safe." Miranda explained that she had shown her father, the executive, my business card and told him about the incident. The department head, who had been listening, suddenly changed his tone, saying, "Smith, you've done a remarkable deed." The executive, observing this with a cool gaze, sternly reprimanded him. "It's outrageous to place all the responsibility on such a brave subordinate." Johnson was speechless, his face turning pale. The executive further informed Johnson that various issues like embezzlement and harassment had reached the headquarters' attention and instructed him to attend a separate meeting later. Johnson, looking even more distressed, left the room. After Johnson has left, the executive and Miranda expressed their gratitude to me again.
If you'd like, I could arrange for you to work at the headquarters. What do you think?
The executive suddenly proposed. I was taken aback by the sudden offer but modestly declined, saying, "I just did what anyone would have done. I haven't done anything special for the company." The executive was visibly surprised by my response. Unsure of what else to say, I apologized. "I'm sorry to decline your generous offer." He then said with a laugh, "Your attitude makes me want you at the headquarters even more." It seemed like he appreciated my attitude. Miranda was smiling beside him. They invited me to a thank you dinner, with Miranda also joining. She added, "I'd really like to thank you," with a smile. Miranda was so beautiful that her gaze made my heart flutter. I bashfully accepted, saying, "Yes, I'd be very pleased." Later, I had dinner with the executive's family after work. On the day of a dinner event, the chosen restaurant was an ultra-luxury one with an opulent exterior, a place I had never been to before. Inside, the decor was lavish, and the dishes served were all exquisite and delicious. The executive made an effort to ease my nerves with friendly conversation, and Miranda's cheerful demeanor made it a delightful experience. The executives seemed to have taken a liking to me, as I was invited for dinner several times afterward. As it was ending, Miranda asked me, "Smith, could you please give me your contact information?" "Yes, gladly." We started exchanging emails and soon made plans for dinner, just the two of us. As for Johnson, his numerous misdeeds were exposed, leading to his transfer to a remote location. With him gone, the working environment significantly improved. Now, I'm enjoying prosperous days both in my professional and personal life,